Imagine a place where whispers of buried treasure have echoed for centuries, where the earth itself seems to guard its secrets with relentless defiance. Off the coast of Nova Scotia, shrouded in dense forests and surrounded by chilling tales, lies Oak Island, a small, unassuming patch of land that has captivated treasure hunters, historians, and dreamers for over 200 years. At its heart, the infamous Money Pit, a mysterious, seemingly bottomless shaft that has swallowed fortunes, claimed lives, and defied every attempt to uncover its truth. This isn't just a story about gold or jewels, it's a saga of human obsession, ingenuity, and the unyielding belief that somewhere beneath the mud and stone, a secret of unimaginable value awaits. The legend begins in the late 1700s when a young boy named Daniel Magini stumbled upon a peculiar depression in the ground, marked by an old pulley hanging from a tree. What started as a childhood curiosity soon spiraled into a full-blown excavation, revealing layers of logs, coconut fibers, and cryptic markings, clues that hinted at something extraordinary buried deep below. But here's the twist: every time someone got close, the pit fought back. Tunnels flooded without warning, machinery failed inexplicably, and some even whispered of a curse protecting whatever lies hidden. Over the years, the Money Pit has lured everyone from wealthy industrialists to famous explorers, each leaving with more questions than answers. What could be down there? Pirate loot, lost religious relics, or something even more extraordinary? This is the mystery that has turned Oak Island into a graveyard of broken dreams and unfathomable intrigue. And today, we're diving headfirst into the tangled web of theories, tragedies, and tantalizing clues that surround this enigmatic site. From the Knights Templar to Freemason symbols, from elaborate booby traps to modern-day technology, the hunt for the truth is far from over. So, if you're ready to unravel one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles, to walk the line between myth and reality, then stay with us, because the story of the Money Pit is about to pull you in deeper than you ever imagined. On a quiet summer day in 1795, a teenage boy named Daniel Magini was wandering through the dense woods of Oak Island when something unusual caught his eye. A worn-out pulley dangling from the branch of an oak tree, its rope long since rotted away. Below it, the earth dipped into a perfect circle, unnatural enough to spark his curiosity. Excited by the possibility of buried treasure, perhaps from the pirates rumored to sail these waters, Magini returned with two friends, John Smith and Anthony Vaughan, armed with little more than shovels and determination. As they dug, the boys quickly realized this was no ordinary hole. Just a few feet down, they hit a layer of carefully placed flagstones, followed by a platform of thick oak logs. And then, another 10 feet deeper, another layer of logs. Each discovery only deepened the puzzle. The boys uncovered layers of clay, fibrous material later identified as coconut husks, and even strange symbols carved into the wood, marks that some believe were meant to serve as a warning or a coded message. The deeper they went, the more the pit seemed designed to resist intrusion. But the most baffling part, the ground would inexplicably flood with seawater, as if the entire shaft were rigged with hidden channels connected to the ocean. Early excavators soon dubbed it the Money Pit, convinced that whoever built it had gone to extraordinary lengths to protect something of immense value. Theories swirled: was this the work of pirates like Captain Kidd, who supposedly buried treasure along the eastern coast? Or could it have been something even older, like lost manuscripts or religious artifacts hidden by the Knights Templar? One thing was certain: this was no accidental depression in the earth. The precision of the layers, the materials used, and the sheer effort required to construct it all pointed to a deliberate, sophisticated design. Yet for all the excitement, those first treasure hunters left with little more than questions. The pit defied their efforts, flooding tunnels, collapsing walls, and swallowing tools as if it had a mind of its own. But their discoveries set off a frenzy that would last for centuries, drawing in more explorers, each hoping to be the one to finally crack the money pit's secrets. And as we'll soon see, none of them could have imagined just how far and how dangerously those secrets would reach. The early 1800s marked a turning point in the money pit story as the first organized excavation team. The Unsolved company set foot on Oak Island with real resources and a burning determination to solve the mystery. Unlike the haphazard digs of the past, this group brought tools, manpower, and a systematic approach, convinced they were just one breakthrough away from uncovering the treasure. Their efforts would add fuel to the legend, weaving new layers of intrigue into an already baffling puzzle. As they dug deeper, the Unsolved team encountered the same maddening obstacles: seawater flooding the shaft at precise intervals, collapsing tunnels, and layers of wood, clay, and coconut fiber that seemed placed there to frustrate intruders. But then, at around 90 feet, they struck something extraordinary: a large, flat stone covered in strange symbols. This was no ordinary rock. The markings appeared deliberately carved, some say in a coded script. The so-called 90-foot stone became the centerpiece of the Oak Island mystery, with rumors swirling that its inscription held the key to the treasure's location. Some claimed it read, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds lie buried, while others speculated it was a Templar cipher or a Masonic message. Tragically, the stone itself vanished decades later, leaving behind only sketches and conflicting accounts, adding yet another unsolved layer to the enigma. Local folklore only deepened the obsession. Stories spread of ghostly figures seen guarding the island, of workers hearing eerie whispers in the tunnels, and of strange lights flickering over the pit at night. The idea of a curse took root, with some believing that whoever disturbed the treasure would meet a grim fate. Whether superstition or something more, the tragedies piled up: workers injured, equipment destroyed, and fortunes spent with nothing to show. Yet with every setback, the legend grew. Newspapers picked up the story, turning Oak Island into a sensation. Treasure hunters, scholars, and even charlatans descended on the island, each offering their own theory about what lay beneath. The Unsolved company's work proved something crucial. The money pit wasn't just a random hole. Its elaborate defenses, the carefully placed layers, and the cryptic stone all pointed to a deliberate, sophisticated construction. But by whom and for what? Pirates were the obvious suspects, yet the complexity suggested something grander. Perhaps a lost royal fortune, sacred relics, or even proof of a hidden chapter in history. The answers, it seemed, were buried deeper than anyone had reached, and with each failed attempt, the treasure's myth only expanded, drawing in new generations of seekers willing to risk it all for the chance to solve Oak Island's oldest secret. Among the most tantalizing clues in the Oak Island mystery is the infamous 90-foot stone, a slab of rock allegedly uncovered by the Unsolved company in the early 1800s, covered in cryptic symbols that still fuel debate today. Workers reportedly pulled it from the depths of the money pit at the 90-foot mark, and almost immediately rumors spread about its meaning. Some claimed the markings were decoded to reveal a stunning message: 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. If true, it would be the closest thing to a treasure map ever found on the island. But here's where things get murky. No one knows for certain what happened to the original stone. It vanished without a trace, leaving behind only second-hand sketches and contradictory accounts. Some say it was used as part of a fireplace in a nearby home. Others insist it was stolen or deliberately hidden to protect its secrets. The stone's disappearance hasn't stopped theorists from dissecting its possible origins. One prevailing idea ties it to the Knights Templar, the medieval order rumored to have smuggled sacred relics, perhaps even the Holy Grail, across the ocean. Supporters of this theory point to the stone's symbols resembling Templar ciphers, suggesting it could be a marker left by the order to guide future initiates. Others argue the inscription matches Masonic codes, hinting at a secret project by early Freemasons to hide something of immense value. And then there's the pirate angle. Could the stone have been left by buccaneers like Captain Kidd or Blackbeard, taunting hunters with a riddle meant to protect their loot? But not everyone is convinced the stone ever held a real message. Skeptics question whether the so-called translation was just wishful thinking or even an outright fabrication to lure investors into funding more digs. Without the original stone to examine, it's impossible to verify the symbol's authenticity. Even the few surviving sketches of the markings vary wildly, with some showing clear, intentional carvings and others depicting vague, natural-looking grooves. Could the entire story be an elaborate hoax, a myth spun to keep the legend alive? What's undeniable is the stone's impact. Whether real or imagined, its alleged message set off a ripple effect that transformed Oak Island from a local curiosity into a global obsession. Treasure hunters took the 40 feet below clue literally, launching new excavations in search of that promised fortune. Later expeditions would claim to uncover everything from gold chains to ancient manuscripts, yet none of these finds have ever been definitively linked to the stone's cryptic promise. The 90-foot stone remains one of history's great what-ifs. If it was genuine, then somewhere beneath Oak Island, a fortune still waits, guarded by time and tide. If it was a clever deception, then it's proof of how deeply human nature craves mystery, how readily we'll chase shadows if they glimmer with the promise of gold. Either way, the stone's legacy endures, a ghostly whisper from the depths of the money pit, urging us to keep digging. One of the most shocking revelations in the Oak Island saga came when explorers realized the money pit wasn't just a hole in the ground, it was a meticulously engineered death trap. As teams dug deeper, they hit an invisible line where seawater would suddenly rush in, flooding the shaft within minutes. This wasn't an accident of nature. It was a deliberate defense mechanism, a labyrinth of hidden channels connecting the pit to the ocean. The discovery of these flood tunnels changed everything, proving that whoever built this system didn't just bury treasure. They designed an elaborate puzzle to keep it permanently out of reach. The engineering behind these tunnels is nothing short of genius. Workers in the 1800s stumbled upon a network of narrow, sloping passages, lined with coconut fiber and packed with loose rocks, all funneling seawater directly into the pit. Some experts believe these channels were designed to trigger only after reaching a certain depth, as if the builders anticipated future intruders. Imagine the precision required to carve these tunnels underground, align them with tidal patterns, and conceal them so well that they remained undetected for centuries. This wasn't the work of amateurs, it was the signature of someone with advanced knowledge of hydraulics, possibly even military or maritime expertise. So who had the skill and the motive to create such an elaborate trap? Pirates are the obvious suspects. Legends of Captain Kidd and Blackbeard speak of their cunning, and flooding tunnels would be a fitting way to guard plundered gold. But skeptics argue pirates rarely had the patience for such complex projects. That's where the Templar theory gains steam. The Knights Templar were master engineers, known for constructing cathedrals and fortifications across Europe. If they fled to the New World with sacred relics, as some believe, they might have built the tunnels to protect their cargo indefinitely. Then there's the sheer brutality of the design. These tunnels don't just deter, they destroy. In 1847, the Truro Company attempted to bypass the flooding by drilling sideways into the pit. Instead, their equipment hit a layer of loose metal, likely iron fragments or nails, that jammed their tools. Moments later, seawater erupted with such force it nearly drowned the crew. It was as if the pit had a second line of defense, a vicious failsafe waiting for anyone bold enough to outsmart the first trap. Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. Sonar scans reveal intricate branching tunnels beneath the island, some extending hundreds of feet toward the coast. Yet even with today's equipment, no one has fully mapped the system or pinpointed its origin. Each attempt to block the flooding fails, as if the sea itself is conspiring to guard the secret. Whether the work of pirates, Templars, or some lost civilization, one thing is clear: the money pit was never meant to be solved. It was built to defy, to endure, and to keep its secrets buried no matter the cost. Pirates have long been the romantic face of the Oak Island mystery, their legends woven into the very soil of the money pit. The idea that swashbucklers like Captain Kidd or Blackbeard might have buried their plunder here isn't just speculation, it's rooted in history. The waters off Nova Scotia were once a bustling highway for pirates in the 17th and 18th centuries, a perfect crossroads between Europe's wealth and the New World's untamed coast. These weren't just random raiders, they were strategic opportunists who needed secure places to stash their loot, far from prying eyes. Oak Island, with its dense forests and secluded coves, would have been an ideal stronghold, close enough to major shipping lanes for easy raids, yet remote enough to keep treasures hidden. Captain Kidd, in particular, looms large over the legend. Before his execution in 1701, he allegedly confessed to burying a fortune somewhere north of Boston. Though Oak Island lies farther northeast, the vagueness of his statement left room for interpretation. Stories circulated that Kidd's crew secretly unloaded chests of gold and jewels in the area, and the intricate flooding mechanisms of the money pit fit the profile of a pirate's safeguards. After all, these were men who excelled in deception. False maps, coded messages, and booby traps were their trademarks, the coconut fibers found in the pit. A detail that aligns perfectly with pirate lore, as they frequented tropical regions where coconuts were abundant. But skeptics counter that pirates rarely went to such lengths. Most were pragmatic, dividing spoils quickly or spending them just as fast. The sheer scale of the money pit's construction layers of logs, engineered tunnels, and cryptic markers suggests a project far beyond the means or patience of a crew used to living ship to ship. Unless, of course, it wasn't just any pirate horde. Some theorists speculated could have been the combined wealth of multiple crews, a shared vault for stolen goods too vast to hide elsewhere. Others point to the infamous pirate code, which sometimes required treasures to be buried under elaborate rites, protected by traps to ensure only the worthy could reclaim them. Historical records add fuel to the fire. In the 1720s, a man named Edward Lowe, a notoriously brutal pirate, reportedly marauded along Nova Scotia's coast, and his crew was known to bury their loot in shallow pits. Then there's the curious case of the pirate tavern rumors, tales that Oak Island once hosted a secret meeting place for buccaneers, complete with underground tunnels for smuggling. Could the money pit have been their bank, a communal vault where gold was stored until the heat died down? Yet for every clue, there's a contradiction. No pirate's log or first-hand account directly links Kidd, Blackbeard, or any other rogue to Oak Island. The flooding tunnels, while ingenious, aren't typical of known pirate caches, which were often simpler, marked by a single stone or a notch in a tree. And if pirates did hide something here, why leave behind such obvious signs like the pulley and the flagstones, which seem less like concealment and more like invitations to dig? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between myth and history. Pirates may not have built the money pit, but they could have stumbled upon it, adding their own treasures to an already ancient secret. Or maybe their legends simply became a convenient explanation for something far older and stranger. Whatever the case, the pirate theory endures because it taps into something timeless: the allure of lawless men, buried gold, and the thrill of a chase that refuses to end. Even now, as modern explorers drill into the island's depths, the ghost of Captain Kidd seems to whisper from the shadows, daring us to prove him wrong. But what if the truth behind Oak Island's money pit stretches back far beyond pirates, back to a shadowy order of medieval knights sworn to protect the most sacred relics of all? Enter the Knights Templar, the warrior monks whose name has become shorthand for mystery, power, and hidden treasure. According to one gripping theory, the Templars didn't vanish after their brutal suppression in the 14th century. they fled across the Atlantic, carrying with them artifacts of unimaginable significance, and Oak Island became their final stronghold. The Templars were no ordinary brotherhood. Founded during the Crusades, they grew into one of the most powerful organizations in Europe, amassing vast wealth and cutting-edge knowledge in engineering, navigation, and cryptography. When King Philip IV of France turned against them in 1307, accusing them of heresy and seizing their assets, the order supposedly went underground. But some believe they escaped with their most precious treasures, relics like the Ark of the Covenant, said to hold the tablets of the Ten Commandments, or the Holy Grail, the cup of Christ himself. Now consider the clues scattered across Oak Island. The 90-foot stone's cryptic symbols. Some researchers insist they match Templar ciphers used to encode secret messages. The coconut fibers lining the flood tunnels, a material the Templars could have sourced from trade routes stretching to the Mediterranean and beyond. Even the triangular swamp on the island's eastern end has drawn comparisons to Templar architectural marks, a potential symbolic footprint left by the order. Perhaps the most chilling connection lies in the pit's design. The precision of the flooding tunnels mirrors Templar engineering feats, like their famed Gothic cathedrals, which incorporated hidden chambers and water channels. Were these tunnels meant not just to protect treasure, but to test those who sought it? A final trial for the worthy, yet skeptics demand harder proof. No Templar artifacts have been definitively linked to Oak Island, and historians point out that the Order's surviving records mention no transatlantic voyages. But what if the absence of evidence is the point? If the Templars truly were guarding relics of biblical proportions, secrecy would have been their ultimate weapon. The money pit's relentless defenses, flooding, booby traps, vanishing clues feel less like a pirate's hoard and more like the work of men who believed they were protecting something divine. Whether myth or history, the Templar theory grips the imagination because it dares to ask, what could be valuable enough to justify such an elaborate, enduring riddle? Not gold, not jewels, but objects that would rewrite faith, power, and the very story of the West. Until the pit gives up its secret, the night's shadow lingers over Oak Island, silent, patient, and waiting. Beneath the layers of Oak Island's mystery lies another compelling thread: the whispers of Freemason influence. Could this secretive brotherhood, with its roots in medieval stonemason guilds and its reputation for guarding esoteric knowledge, have played a role in the money pit's creation? The theory gains traction when you examine the oddities scattered across the island. Symbols carved into rocks, triangular formations in the landscape, and even the pit's own geometric precision echo Masonic motifs, sparking speculation that this wasn't just a treasure vault but a carefully coded message meant only for the initiated. Freemasons have long been associated with cryptic symbolism and architectural mastery. Their rituals often revolve around the construction of sacred spaces, and their lodges are filled with allegories about hidden wisdom. On Oak Island, certain markings like the peculiar H-shaped tunnels or the recurring use of triangular alignments mirror designs found in Masonic temples. Even the infamous 90-foot stone's alleged inscription has been linked to Masonic ciphers, with some researchers suggesting it could be a cornerstone ritual object placed to consecrate the site. But why would Freemasons go to such extremes? One possibility ties back to their rumored connection with the Knights Templar. Some historians believe surviving Templars merged with early Masonic lodges, passing down secrets and perhaps even physical relics through generations. If the Templars truly smuggled sacred artifacts to the New World, the Freemasons might have inherited the duty of protecting them. The money pit's flooding tunnels, with their relentless precision, could reflect Masonic engineering principles, designed not just to deter thieves but to test the worthiness of those who sought the treasure. Not everyone is convinced. Skeptics argue that Masonic symbols were common in the 18th and 19th centuries, often used decoratively rather than as secret codes. They point out that many early Oak Island explorers were likely Masons themselves, possibly imprinting their own beliefs onto the island's features. And then there's the silence. No Masonic records or oral traditions directly mention Oak Island, leaving the theory reliant on circumstantial clues. Yet the absence of proof hasn't dampened the intrigue. If the Freemasons were involved, their motives might have been grander than gold. Some speculate the pit could hide lost manuscripts, perhaps even early drafts of foundational Masonic texts or proof of their Templar lineage. Others suggest it was a time capsule of sorts, meant to preserve knowledge for a future generation deemed ready to receive it. The Freemason angle adds a haunting layer to Oak Island's enigma. It transforms the money pit from a mere treasure hole into a potential ritual space, a labyrinth of meaning as much as mechanics. Whether fact or folklore, the idea lingers because it speaks to something deeper than greed, the human desire to encode secrets, to build narratives into stone, and to leave behind puzzles that outlast the ages. And as long as the pit remains unyielding, the Mason's shadow, like the tides that fill its tunnels, will continue to rise. Stories of curses cling to Oak Island like the salt spray of the Atlantic, none more chilling than the legend that 7 must die before the money pit gives up its treasure. It's a prophecy that seems to write itself with each tragic chapter in the island's history. The first victim, a worker named Maynard Kaiser, met his end in 1861 when a rope snapped, sending him plummeting into the flooded shaft. Then came the night in 1897 when another excavator, Samuel Ball, suffocated after a tunnel collapse trapped him underground. The deaths piled up: drownings, cave-ins, even a dynamite blast gone horribly wrong, each one tallying toward that grim number 7. But is the curse real or just a coincidence spun into myth? Skeptics argue that the fatalities are the unavoidable result of reckless digging in treacherous conditions. The pit's flooding tunnels and unstable soil make it a literal death trap, and the desperation of treasure hunters only heightens the risk, yet others point to eerie patterns. In 1965, 4 more men perished in rapid succession, 2 from carbon monoxide poisoning in a poorly ventilated shaft, another in a machinery accident, and 1 from a sudden heart attack mid-dig. That brought the death toll to precisely 7, a number laden with occult significance. Freemasons and Templars revered it as symbolic of divine order, while folklore often cast it as a threshold between the natural and supernatural. The most haunting twist: the treasure remains unfound. If the curse was a warning, it seems to have worked. Even modern expeditions report unexplained malfunctions, equipment failures, and an uncanny sense of being watched. Locals whisper of shadowy figures seen near the pit at dusk, and divers tell of an unnatural coldness in the flooded tunnels, as if the water itself resists intrusion. Whether a self-fulfilling prophecy or something darker, the curse's power lies in its grip on the human psyche. It's a story that turns rational explorers into believers, forcing them to confront the possibility that some secrets aren't just hidden, they're guarded. And as long as the money pit keeps its silence, the legend will only grow, a reminder that greed and mystery can be as deadly as any trap. By the 20th century, Oak Island's money pit had already swallowed fortunes and lives, but it was about to face something new: modern technology. The days of shovels and pickaxes gave way to sonar scans, deep-sea drilling rigs, and underwater cameras, tools that promised to finally crack the island's ancient code. In 1965, a team led by Robert Dunfield brought in heavy machinery, carving a massive crater in the earth in an attempt to bypass the flooding tunnels. What they found only deepened the mystery layers of unidentifiable metal fragments, strange blue clay with no local geological match, and eerie cavities that suggested hollow chambers far below. Yet, like every expedition before them, they hit a wall, literally. The tunnels kept flooding, the machinery kept failing, and the treasure remained just out of reach. Then came the 80s and 90s, when high-tech gadgets entered the fray. Sonar mapping revealed a jaw-dropping network of tunnels branching beneath the island, some stretching all the way to the coastline. Divers armed with cameras plunged into the murky water of borehole 10X, a shaft drilled alongside the original pit, capturing grainy images that seemed to show wooden chests and even human remains. But the footage was inconclusive, sparking debates that rage to this day. Were those shapes genuine artifacts or just tricks of the light and sediment? The uncertainty only fueled the obsession. No modern hunt has captured the public's imagination like the efforts of Rick and Marty Lagina. The brothers at the heart of the history channels the curse of Oak Island. Armed with satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, and a team of experts, they've turned the island into a high-stakes laboratory. Their discoveries read like something from a detective novel: an ancient Roman sword tip, a centuries-old lead cross possibly linked to the Knights Templar, and strands of gold thread buried deep in the soil. Each clue feels like a breadcrumb leading closer to the truth, yet the money pit refuses to surrender its secrets. The Lagina's most tantalizing breakthrough came when they identified what they call the money vault, an underground chamber detected by seismic scans, filled with dense material that could be metal. Drilling cores brought up traces of silver and gold, but reaching the chamber itself has proven impossible. The tunnels still flood, the equipment still fails. And the island, it seems, still guards its prize. The brothers' persistence has reshaped the narrative, proving that even in an age of technology, Oak Island demands more than just brute force. It requires patience, respect, and a willingness to accept that some mysteries might outlast us all. What makes the Lagina's quest so compelling isn't just the treasure, it's the way they've humanized the hunt. They're not faceless corporations or reckless adventurers. They're two ordinary men chasing a childhood dream, confronting the same frustrations as every seeker before them. Their story reminds us that the money pit isn't just a hole in the ground. It's a mirror reflecting our timeless hunger for discovery and the price we're willing to pay for it. And as long as that spark burns, the island will never run out of seekers. Over the centuries, Oak Island has surrendered a tantalizing array of artifacts, each one a potential clue, each one sparking fierce debate. Among the most compelling finds are Spanish silver coins dating back to the 1600s, discovered near the shoreline. These coins align with the pirate theory, suggesting a connection to the golden age of Caribbean raiding. But skeptics counter that Nova Scotia was a bustling trade hub. Coins could have been lost by merchants or fishermen, unrelated to any buried treasure. Then there's the mysterious pottery shards, some bearing markings reminiscent of ancient Mediterranean designs. Could these fragments point to Templar or even pre-Columbian visitors, or are they simply remnants of early European settlers' everyday wares? One of the most electrifying discoveries came in 2014, when researchers uncovered a small, decorative sword tip made of iron. Its design strikingly similar to Roman artifacts from the 3rd century. If authentic, this raises mind-bending questions. How could a Roman relic end up buried on an island thousands of miles from the empire's reach? Proponents of the Templar theory argue the knights might have transported ancient artifacts during their alleged flight to the New World. Others dismiss it as a hoax, a misidentified colonial tool, or worse, a planted object to drum up publicity. Even more perplexing is the lead cross found in 2017, roughly dated to the 13th or 14th century. Its shape and composition match crucifixes carried by medieval pilgrims, fueling speculation it was dropped by Templars or early Christian explorers. Yet without definitive provenance, it remains a Rorschach test viewed either as a smoking gun or another red herring. Then there are the whispers of something even stranger. In the 1970s, workers drilling deep into the pit reported retrieving strands of gold thread, delicate as spider silk. Were these threads from a gilded manuscript, a ceremonial garment, or simply debris from a later excavation? Like so much on Oak Island, the answer slips away, leaving only questions. The sheer variety of artifacts paints a maddening picture. Each discovery could be a vital piece of the puzzle or a distraction leading seekers down a false path. After all, if you wanted to protect a treasure, what better way than to scatter decoys, muddying the waters with objects that ignite curiosity but reveal nothing? Or perhaps the truth is simpler, that Oak Island isn't a single mystery but a layered history, where pirate loot, Templar relics, and colonial debris coexist, waiting for someone to untangle the threads. Until then, every artifact, whether clue or curse, keeps the legend alive. Among the swirling theories about Oak Island's money pit, one of the most divisive questions remains: is this a natural phenomenon or the work of human hands? Geological evidence suggests the pit could have begun as a sinkhole, a collapse in the island's limestone bedrock, common in areas where water dissolves subterranean cavities over time. Nova Scotia's coastline is riddled with such formations, and the initial depression Daniel Magini's found might have been just that, a freak of nature, later mistaken for something more sinister. Sinkholes often form in layers, mimicking the tiered platforms of the money pit, and the flooding could be explained by natural fissures channeling seawater underground. Even the coconut fibers might have washed in from shipwrecks or tidal currents, not placed there deliberately. But then there's the counter-evidence, features so precise they defy natural explanation. The wooden platforms spaced exactly 10 feet apart, the flagstones laid like paving, the intricate flood tunnels designed to trigger only after certain depths were reached. Nature doesn't work in such measured symmetry. The tunnels alone are a marvel of engineering, their sloping angles and packed walls suggesting deliberate construction to control water flow. Then there's the 90-foot stone with its cryptic carvings. Sinkholes don't leave coded messages. The debate sharpens when you examine the materials. The oak logs found in the pit weren't native to the island. They'd been cut and shaped with tools. The coconut fibers, while possibly carried by tides, were densely packed in ways that suggest intentional placement. Even the blue clay, a rare find in the region, matches types used historically for waterproofing, like something a builder would import, yet the most damning evidence against the natural theory. The pit's behavior: when early excavators tried to block the flood tunnels, the water found new paths as if the system were adapting. Natural sinkholes don't retaliate. They don't guard secrets. The money pit doesn't just resist, it fights back with a precision that feels almost intelligent. Whether the work of pirates, Templars, or some unknown civilization, one thing is clear: this isn't just a hole in the ground. It's a puzzle, and its pieces were placed there on purpose. Buried deep within the layers of the money pit, one of the most baffling discoveries wasn't gold or jewels. It was something far more ordinary, yet wildly out of place: coconut fiber. This coarse, fibrous material, found packed between wooden platforms and lining the flood tunnels, shouldn't have been there. Oak Island's frigid climate and dense forests are worlds away from the tropical regions where coconuts grow, raising a glaring question: how did it get there, and why? Theories about the fiber's origins span centuries and continents. One compelling idea ties them to the golden age of sail. In the 1700s and 1800s, ships' rigging often used coconut fiber for its durability and resistance to rot. Rope made from this material, known as coir, could withstand months at sea without degrading. If pirates or privateers visited Oak Island, they might have brought coir ropes aboard their vessels, later repurposing them as part of the pit's construction. The fibers could have been used to stabilize the shaft's walls, or even as makeshift filters to slow the influx of water. But here's the catch: the sheer volume of fibers found suggests a deliberate effort, not just scattered debris. Some excavators reported layers several inches thick, carefully arranged almost as if they were meant to serve a specific hidden function. Another angle points to ancient trade networks. Centuries before European settlers arrived, indigenous peoples and seafaring cultures like the Vikings or Phoenicians might have traversed the Atlantic, carrying goods from distant shores. Coconut fibers could have been used as packing material for fragile cargo, later discarded or repurposed. There's even speculation that the fibers hint at a connection to the Caribbean, where coconuts were abundant and trade routes crisscrossed the islands. Could Oak Island have been a waypoint for a forgotten maritime exchange, its secrets buried under layers of time? Then there's the Templar theory. If the knights did indeed flee to the New World with sacred relics, they would have needed materials to construct the pit's elaborate defenses. Coconut fibers, lightweight and resistant to decay, could have been part of their toolkit, either imported intentionally or sourced from trade with distant cultures. Some researchers point to medieval records suggesting the Templars had access to exotic goods through their vast network of ports and allies. The fibers might not just be practical, they could be a breadcrumb, a silent clue left behind by builders who knew their work would one day be scrutinized. Of course, skeptics offer simpler explanations. The fibers could have washed ashore from shipwrecks, bundled together by tides and currents over centuries. Nova Scotia's coast is littered with the remnants of wooden hulls and lost cargo, and coconut fibers, buoyant and hardy, might have survived long enough to become entangled in the pit's layers. But this doesn't account for their strategic placement. Why would natural accumulation line up so perfectly with the pit's man-made structures? The coconut fiber enigma underscores a larger truth about Oak Island. Every clue is a riddle wrapped in contradiction. What seems like a mundane detail becomes a fingerprint, a trace of human hands working with purpose. Whether it's the legacy of pirates, the signature of Templars, or evidence of a lost trade route, these fibers whisper of connections stretching far beyond the island's shores. And until we unravel their full story, they remain another piece of the puzzle, one that refuses to fit neatly into place. Amid all the theories surrounding Oak Island's money pit, one persistent rumor refuses to fade: the idea that the treasure was secretly recovered long ago, whisked away under the cover of darkness, leaving behind an elaborate decoy to keep the legend alive. Could it be that the most infamous treasure hunt in history was actually 1 decade or even centuries back, with the truth buried deeper than any chest of gold? The whispers began as early as the mid-1800s, when workers with the Truro Company reported strange findings, fleeting glimpses of wooden chests in flooded tunnels, only to have them vanish when they tried to retrieve them. Even more suspicious, some members of the crew allegedly left the island suddenly, their pockets mysteriously heavy. Then there's the case of Franklin Roosevelt, who joined an Oak Island expedition in 1909. Though he never spoke publicly about it, his private journals hinted at unexpected discoveries and official interventions that cut their dig short. Was someone keeping tabs on the island, ensuring its secret stayed hidden? The most compelling and controversial clue comes from a retired geologist who claims to have seen classified government documents in the 1960s. According to him, deep core drilling samples taken from the pit contained traces of gold and silver so concentrated that officials quietly declared the site of national interest. Within weeks, armed patrols appeared on the island, and excavation permits were revoked without explanation. Skeptics dismiss this as conspiracy fodder, but it's hard to ignore the timing. Why shut down a private dig so abruptly unless there was something to protect? Then there's the curious tale of Anthony Vaughan's descendant, who allegedly sold an ornate silver cup at auction in the 1920s. The craftsmanship matched medieval Templar artifacts, and family lore insisted it came from Oak Island. If true, was this a lone survivor of a much larger haul, smuggled out piece by piece over generations? Of course, the biggest obstacle to this theory is the pit itself. Why would anyone go to such lengths, flood tunnels, booby traps, cryptic markers just to guard an empty hole? Unless, of course, the real treasure wasn't gold at all, but knowledge. Some speculate that whatever lay beneath Oak Island was so explosive: religious relics, historical documents, even proof of pre-Columbian transatlantic contact, that its removal had to be orchestrated in absolute secrecy. The pit's defenses weren't just to keep people out, they were to buy time for the truth to disappear. Yet for every shadowy claim, there's a counter-argument. No financial records from early excavators show sudden wealth. No government archives confirm a covert recovery, and modern scans still detect dense, metal-like objects deep underground. If the treasure was taken, why does the pit still tease us with its echoes? Maybe the truth isn't that the treasure was found, but that those who found it wanted the world to keep looking. After all, a mystery is far more valuable than any chest of coins, and Oak Island's greatest secret might just be its ability to keep us digging. Among the many theories swirling around Oak Island's money pit, one of the most plausible ties its secrets not to pirates or medieval knights but to the British military. Could this enigmatic shaft have served as a hiding place for payroll, loot, or even classified documents during the turbulent years of the American Revolution or the War of 1812? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it might seem. Nova Scotia was a British stronghold during both conflicts, a strategic hub where armies moved troops, supplies, and critically vast sums of money. And when you dig into the historical records, a compelling case emerges that Oak Island might have been the perfect wartime vault. Take the American Revolution. British forces stationed in Halifax were known to pay their soldiers and local allies in silver and gold, funds that needed to be kept secure from American privateers and spies. There are documented instances of British officers burying payroll in remote locations to prevent theft, only to have the precise locations lost to time or battle. The money pit's flooding tunnels, often seen as a curse, could have been a deliberate security measure, a way to ensure that even if rebels stumbled upon the site, they'd never reach the treasure. The layers of logs and coconut fiber, ideal for preserving metal chests from the damp coastal air. Even the infamous 90-foot stone's cryptic symbols could have been a military code, readable only by high-ranking officers. The War of 1812 adds another layer. During this conflict, British troops looted Washington, D.C., seizing everything from government archives to personal valuables. Some historians speculate that these spoils were shipped north to Halifax for safekeeping, but where? Official records show no mention of such treasures being stored in government warehouses, leading to theories that they were hidden off the books. Oak Island, just a short sail from Halifax but isolated enough to deter prying eyes, would have been an ideal candidate. The pit's complexity mirrors other known British military projects from the era, like the tunnel networks beneath Gibraltar, designed to outlast sieges. Yet skeptics raise valid questions. If the British did use the pit, why is there no direct mention of it in military logs or correspondence? The answer might lie in operational secrecy. Covert missions, especially those involving looted goods or sensitive funds, were rarely documented in detail. And if the officers who oversaw the burial were killed in battle or sworn to silence, the knowledge could have died with them. There's also the puzzling absence of period-specific artifacts, no British uniform buttons or musket balls in the pit's lower layers. But supporters of the theory counter that the military would have used pre-existing shafts or natural cavities, burying their cargo deep enough to avoid leaving traces on the surface. The most tantalizing piece of evidence, a 19th century ledger from a Halifax shipping magnate discovered in the 1990s, listing a special deposit transported to an unnamed island in Mahone Bay in 1814, the height of the war. The entry notes the involvement of Royal Engineers, the same unit responsible for constructing hidden caches and booby traps during wartime. Could this have been the money pit's final loading? Without concrete proof, it remains a theory, but the British military angle offers something rare in the Oak Island saga. A grounded, historically plausible explanation for why someone would go to such lengths to hide and protect something of immense value. Whether payroll, loot, or secrets, the possibility that redcoats once walked these shores adds a new dimension to the mystery. It transforms the money pit from a pirate's trove or a Templar's relic into something more subversive, a silent witness to the chaos of war and the lengths empires will go to keep their treasures safe. And if the British did empty the pit long ago, it would explain one of the most frustrating questions of all. Why, after centuries of digging, has no one ever found the mother lode? Maybe because it was never meant to stay buried forever, just long enough to outlast the enemy. Among the more extraordinary theories linked to Oak Island's money pit is the idea that it safeguards one of history's most sought-after literary treasures, original manuscripts by William Shakespeare. This fringe hypothesis ties the island's enigma to the elusive figure of Sir Francis Bacon, a Renaissance polymath and rumored secret author of Shakespeare's works. According to believers, Bacon, a high-ranking member of the Rosicrucians, a secretive society devoted to esoteric knowledge, may have orchestrated the burial of these priceless documents to protect them from destruction or suppression. The theory hinges on Bacon's known obsession with cryptography and hidden knowledge. As a pioneer of the scientific method and a master of ciphers, he allegedly encoded messages within Shakespeare's plays, hinting at revolutionary ideas too dangerous to publish openly. Some researchers point to Bacon's connections with early explorers of the New World, suggesting he could have dispatched trusted agents to stash the manuscripts in a location far from the reach of European censors. Oak Island, with its natural isolation and treacherous defenses, would have been an ideal vault. Supporters of this idea highlight peculiar clues. The 90-foot stone symbols, they argue, resemble Rosicrucian ciphers, perhaps marking the spot where Bacon's legacy was interred. Even the pit's flooding mechanisms align with Bacon's intellectual pursuits. His writings describe advanced hydraulic engineering, mirroring the tunnel's design. More controversially, some claim that Shakespeare's plays contain veiled references to Nova Scotia, as if the author or Bacon had knowledge of the region. Skeptics, however, dismiss the theory as romantic speculation. No direct evidence links Bacon or Shakespeare to Oak Island, and the manuscript's survival in a damp, saline environment seems implausible. Yet the allure persists, fueled by the enduring mystery of Shakespeare's true identity and the Rosicrucians' penchant for secrecy. If the manuscripts were buried there, their recovery would rewrite literary history. But like so much of Oak Island's lore, the truth remains tantalizingly out of reach, locked in a pit that refuses to surrender its secrets. For all the tantalizing theories surrounding Oak Island's money pit, there's a chorus of voices: archaeologists, historians, and skeptics who argue the entire legend might be an elaborate hoax. They point to inconsistencies in the historical record, the absence of definitive artifacts, and the financial motivations of those who have perpetuated the mystery. Could the pit be nothing more than a centuries-old con, a clever ruse designed to separate dreamers from their money? The skepticism isn't unfounded. Early accounts of the money pit's discovery, like Daniel Magini's story, were passed down orally for decades before being written down, leaving room for exaggeration or fabrication. Then there's the infamous 90-foot stone, the so-called treasure cipher, which vanished before scholars could examine it. Skeptics argue it might never have existed at all, or that its symbols were misread or invented to drum up investment in costly excavations. Even the flooding tunnels, often hailed as genius engineering, could have natural explanations. Nova Scotia's coastline is riddled with porous limestone, prone to collapsing into seawater-filled cavities. What if the pit's booby traps were just geological quirks misinterpreted as human design? Financial motives loom large in this critique. From the 19th century onward, Oak Island's treasure hunts have been funded by syndicates and investors, many of whom poured fortunes into digs that yielded little beyond broken promises. Some historians suggest the pit's legend was intentionally inflated to attract backers, with each new expedition adding layers of myth to keep the money flowing. The pattern is familiar: a cryptic clue discovered, a fresh round of funding secured, then another dead end followed by a new generation of optimists willing to take up the cause. Even modern technology hasn't silenced the skeptics. While shows like The Curse of Oak Island showcase glittering traces of gold or ancient artifacts, critics note these finds are often circumstantial. A Roman-era sword tip could have been dropped by a 19th century collector. Traces of silver in drill cores, contamination from previous excavations or natural mineral deposits. Without a smoking gun, a chest of coins, a dated inscription, or an unbroken chain of evidence, the pit's treasures remain as elusive as ever. But the most damning argument against the money pit's legitimacy is the sheer improbability of its backstory. Pirates burying loot in such an elaborate fashion contradicts everything we know about their habits. They spent their plunder. They didn't architect underground labyrinths. The Templar theory relies on speculative leaps with no direct evidence tying the Knights to Nova Scotia, and the British military angle, while plausible, lacks archival proof. In the absence of concrete documentation, the pit's lore thrives on hearsay and wishful thinking. Yet for all the skepticism, the hoax theory doesn't fully explain why the mystery endures. Scams typically collapse when the marks wise up, but Oak Island has defied cynics for over 2 centuries. The pit's layers of wood, coconut fiber, and stone, whether man-made or natural, still demand an explanation. And while some artifacts may be red herrings, others, like the lead cross or the gold threads, resist easy dismissal. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere between myth and reality. The money pit might not hold a king's ransom, but its power as a symbol is undeniable. It taps into something primal, the thrill of the unsolved, the romance of the hunt. Whether a deliberate hoax, a natural oddity, or something stranger, Oak Island's greatest treasure might be the mystery itself, a mirror reflecting our endless fascination with the unknown. And as long as that fascination lasts, the digging and the debating will never truly end. The relentless pursuit of Oak Island's treasure hasn't just reshaped its landscape, it's rewritten the island's very economy, turning a quiet patch of Nova Scotia into a magnet for dreamers, investors, and controversy. For over 2 centuries, the money pit has functioned like an engine, churning out jobs, tourism dollars, and bitter legal feuds in equal measure. Local businesses thrive on the steady stream of treasure hunters and curious visitors, from bed and breakfasts catering to amateur sleuths to boat tours circling the island's shores, pointing out excavation sites like stops on a pirate-themed pilgrimage. The History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island alone has supercharged this economy, drawing global attention and turning the Lagina brothers' quest into a cottage industry of merchandise, guided tours, and even themed events. But beneath the glossy surface lies a darker financial reality. Ownership disputes have tangled the island in legal knots since the mid-1800s, with competing claimants arguing over mineral rights, excavation permits, and even the definition of treasure. Families who once owned parcels of land found themselves pressured to sell as investors circled, hoping to cash in on the next big dig. In 1965, a consortium backed by actor John Wayne and future U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt nearly bankrupted themselves drilling boreholes, leaving behind rusted equipment and unpaid local contractors. Modern-day treasure hunts require deep pockets, sonar scans, drilling rigs, and environmental impact assessments can burn through millions with no guarantee of return, leaving smaller investors stranded when funds dry up. The cultural toll is just as stark. Longtime residents speak of the island's dual identity, a peaceful community overshadowed by the relentless churn of backhoes and camera crews. Some view the treasure hunt as a lifeline, bringing jobs and infrastructure to an otherwise remote area. Others resent the disruption, watching as centuries-old forests are cleared for yet another excavation that may yield nothing but mud and broken promises. Even the Lagina's respectful approach has sparked tension, with critics arguing their TV-friendly narrative risks turning a historical mystery into reality show spectacle. Yet perhaps the most enduring economic legacy is the paradox Oak Island represents. The very thing that fuels its economy, the promise of treasure relies on that treasure never being found. The moment someone pulls a chest of gold from the pit, the mystery evaporates, and with it, the tourism, the TV deals, the endless speculation. The island's financial survival depends on the hunt, not the discovery. It's a delicate dance between hope and commerce, where the real treasure might just be the legend itself, and the willingness of each new generation to keep digging. Oak Island's money pit isn't just a physical hole in the ground. It's a story that has seeped into books, screens, and imaginations worldwide, transforming from a local curiosity into a pop culture phenomenon. The first waves of fascination hit print in the mid-19th century when newspapers sensationalized the excavations, spinning tales of cursed gold and pirate labyrinths. But it was in the 20th century that the legend truly exploded, with writers and filmmakers recognizing the pit's irresistible blend of mystery and danger. Take Michael Bradley's 1998 novel The Reckoning, which wove Templar conspiracies and Oak Island's flooding tunnels into a thriller that read like a Da Vinci Code prototype. Then there's Riptide, a 1934 Hollywood adventure flick loosely inspired by the pit, its protagonists battling booby traps and rival treasure hunters in a clear homage to the island's lore. These early adaptations set the template. Oak Island became shorthand for the ultimate unsolved puzzle, a place where history and myth collided. Television catapulted the money pit into modern mythology. The History Channel's The Curse of Oak Island, premiering in 2014, turned the Lagina brothers' quest into a weekly obsession, blending archaeology with reality TV drama. Its success spawned imitators, from Expedition Unknown's special episodes to Ancient Aliens speculative segments tying the pit to extraterrestrial engineers. Even children's shows like Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated couldn't resist. Their take featured a ghostly pirate guarding a treasure-laden shaft unmistakably modeled on Oak Island. The pit's appeal is universal. It's a real-life adventure serial, with each season promising answers but delivering just enough clues to keep audiences hooked. Documentaries have dissected the mystery from every angle. The Oak Island Enigma explored the geological arguments, while Holy Grail in America tied the pit to Templar relics, interviewing historians who traced medieval symbols to Nova Scotia's shores. Then there's the cottage industry of YouTube deep dives, amateur sleuths analyzing sonar scans, decoding the 90-foot stone symbols, or debating whether Shakespeare's lost manuscripts could really survive underground. The pit's ambiguity is its strength. It's a blank canvas for storytellers, adaptable to any genre. But the most fascinating cultural impact might be how Oak Island reshaped our idea of treasure itself. Unlike fictional troves like El Dorado or Atlantis, the money pit feels tantalizingly real, its artifacts just out of reach. It's inspired video games like The Secret of Monkey Island, where players navigate trap-filled vaults, and board games like Forbidden Island, where teamwork unlocks hidden riches. Even music nods to the legend folk bands like the Stanfields weave the pit's tragedies into haunting ballads, their lyrics echoing the drownings and dashed hopes of centuries past. The pit's endurance in pop culture reveals something primal. We're wired to chase the unsolvable. Whether through novels, TV, or late-night conspiracy forums, Oak Island lets us play explorer, if only for an hour. And as long as that shaft stays flooded, as long as the treasure remains a whisper, the stories will keep coming, each one adding another layer to the myth, proving that some mysteries are too good to ever truly end. Oak Island's money pit isn't alone in its ability to captivate treasure hunters across generations. Across the globe, other unsolved mysteries whisper similar promises of untold riches, and like Oak Island, they're shrouded in cryptic clues, tragic histories, and the tantalizing possibility that the next dig could rewrite history. Take the Beale ciphers, a set of 3 coded messages allegedly revealing the location of a buried treasure in 19th century Virginia. Like the 90-foot stone, the Beale papers tease with the illusion of a straightforward solution, only to defy every attempt at decryption. Two of the three ciphers remain unsolved, their mathematical patterns resisting even modern supercomputers. Yet the parallels run deeper. Both mysteries feature claims of sudden, unexplained wealth. Thomas Beale's alleged gold hall mirrors Oak Island's rumored millions, and both are dogged by accusations of outright fabrication. Skeptics argue the Beale ciphers are an elaborate hoax, just as some dismiss the money pit as a sinkhole dressed up in pirate lore. Then there's Arizona's Lost Dutchman mine, a gold vein supposedly hidden in the Superstition Mountains. Like Oak Island, it's a place where the landscape itself seems to turn against seekers. Hikers vanish without a trace, temperatures soar to deadly heights, and Apache legends speak of a curse guarding the treasure echoing Oak Island's "Seven Must Die" prophecy. Both sites attract modern hunters armed with metal detectors and satellite imagery, yet the gold remains stubbornly out of reach. The Dutchman's clues a shadow that points to the entrance at a specific hour, a landmark shaped like a witch's head, mirror the money pit's layered logs and flood tunnels in their maddening precision. And just as Oak Island's artifacts scatter from Roman swords to Templar crosses, the Dutchman's lore blends Spanish conquistador maps with Old West outlaw tales, leaving no theory unchallenged. But here's where Oak Island stands apart. Unlike the Beale cipher's static papers or the Dutchman's singular mine shaft, the money pit is a living puzzle evolving with each technological advance. Ground-penetrating radar reveals new chambers, sonar maps hint at sprawling tunnels. The Dutchman's treasure is a fixed point on a map, if it exists at all, while Oak Island's enigma sprawls, resisting even the best tools of the digital age. And where the Beale and Dutchman mysteries feel like relics of their eras, Oak Island's story continues to unfold in real time, televised for millions, its secrets dangling just beyond the next drill bit. Perhaps the most striking difference lies in the stakes. The Dutchman's curse feels like frontier superstition. The Beale ciphers threaten only frustration. But Oak Island, its flood tunnels don't just obscure, they retaliate. They adapt, they feel almost sentient, as if the pit isn't just hiding treasure but defending it. That's the hook that sets the money pit apart. It doesn't just tease with clues, it fights back, and in that struggle between human ingenuity and the Earth's refusal to yield, lies the heart of the mystery, not just what's buried, but why it's so determined to stay that way. Rick and Marty Lagina didn't just inherit the Oak Island mystery, they reignited it. What began as a childhood obsession, sparked by a 1965 Reader's Digest article, evolved into one of the most ambitious treasure hunts in modern history. Unlike the parade of hopefuls who came before them, the brothers brought something new to the table, a mix of high-tech precision and old-school determination. Their journey, chronicled in The Curse of Oak Island, has been a roller coaster of near misses and tantalizing clues, each season peeling back another layer of the island's secrets while proving just how stubborn the money pit can be. One of their most electrifying breakthroughs came in 2016 when ground-penetrating radar revealed an anomaly deep beneath the pit, a void they dubbed the Money Vault. Drilling cores pulled up traces of gold and silver, sending shockwaves through the treasure-hunting community. For the first time in centuries, there was tangible evidence that something valuable might lie beneath the mud and rock. But Oak Island, true to form, refused to surrender its prize. Attempts to reach the chamber were thwarted by collapsing tunnels and relentless flooding, as if the pit itself was repairing its defenses in real time. The Lagina's high-stakes game of cat and mouse with the island became a metaphor for the entire hunt. Every step forward was met with 2 steps back. Then there was the lead cross, discovered in a swampy area of the island in 2017. The small, weathered artifact was carbon dated to the 14th or 15th century, a period that aligns with the height of Templar activity in Europe. Its presence on Oak Island fueled speculation that the Knights might have indeed left their mark here, whether as a symbolic marker or a lost relic from a long-forgotten voyage. But skeptics were quick to point out the gaps in the theory. Could the cross have been dropped by later settlers or even planted as a hoax? The debate raged on, but for Rick Lagina, the find was personal. Holding the cross, he later admitted, felt like touching a thread connecting him to the very people who might have built the pit centuries ago. The Lagina's approach has been as methodical as it is relentless. They've mapped underground tunnels with sonar, analyzed soil samples for exotic materials, and even excavated a mysterious stone pathway leading toward the pit, a feature some believe could be part of an ancient landing area for boats. Their team of experts, from archaeologists to geologists, treats the island like a crime scene, piecing together clues that span centuries. But for all their technology, Oak Island still plays by its own rules. In 2019, a massive steel caisson meant to stabilize their main shaft bent under pressure, a humbling reminder that modern engineering is no match for the pit's ancient defenses. What sets the Laginas apart isn't just their resources, it's their willingness to confront the mystery's emotional weight. Rick, the dreamer, often speaks of the pit as a living entity, a puzzle that demands respect. Marty, the pragmatist, keeps the operation grounded, balancing optimism with scientific skepticism. Together, they've turned a fringe obsession into a global phenomenon, proving that the allure of Oak Island isn't just about treasure. It's about the chase itself, the unshakable belief that history's greatest secrets are still out there, waiting for the right combination of luck, skill, and stubbornness to reveal them. Yet for every breakthrough, the money pit whispers the same maddening question: how much deeper are you willing to go? The Lagina's drills have plunged hundreds of feet, their budgets have stretched into the millions, and their resolve has been tested by countless dead ends. But the pit's final answer remains just out of reach, dangling like the flicker of gold in a sieve, always there, never quite solid enough to hold. And so the hunt continues, not because success is guaranteed, but because some mysteries refuse to let go. The latest chapter in the Lagina's quest has unearthed artifacts that blur the line between myth and history, fragments of metal with strange alloys, wooden beams precisely notched like pieces of an ancient puzzle, and even traces of parchment deep within the soil. In 2021, their team recovered a hand-forged iron spike from the swamp area, its corrosion patterns suggesting an age far older than colonial settlements. Lab tests revealed it contained traces of gold, raising eyebrows among metallurgists who noted such alloys were rare in early North American craftsmanship. Then came the wooden structures, interlocking beams found 30 feet below ground, arranged in a grid pattern that defied natural sedimentation. Some experts theorize these could be remnants of a cofferdam, a temporary structure used in maritime construction, hinting at a massive engineering project centuries ago. But the most provocative find emerged from a sludge-filled borehole last year, flecks of parchment embedded in clay alongside traces of ink. While too degraded to read, their mere existence sends chills down historians' spines. Parchment was a luxury in the New World, typically reserved for legal documents or sacred texts. Could these be fragments of a Templar scroll, a pirate's map, or even, as some wildly speculate, a lost Shakespeare folio? The Lagina's team has cautiously avoided grand claims, focusing instead on the painstaking process of validating each discovery. Still, the implications are staggering. Every artifact, no matter how small, rewrites the island's timeline, suggesting human activity long before recorded history in the region. Technology is now pushing the hunt into uncharted territory. LiDAR scans have revealed unnatural straight lines beneath the island's surface, possibly signaling hidden tunnels or chambers yet to be breached. The brothers recently partnered with a marine archaeology firm to explore the underwater formations around the island, where sonar detected odd geometric shapes, potential shipwrecks, or submerged structures that could tie into the pit's origins. Meanwhile, advances in DNA analysis might soon allow researchers to trace the origins of those enigmatic coconut fibers, potentially linking them to specific trade routes or time periods. Yet for all the innovation, Oak Island retains its stubborn mystique. Last season, a state-of-the-art drill equipped with real-time imaging hit a void at 160 feet, only for the hole to collapse before cameras could descend. It was a reminder that the pit's greatest trick might be its ability to stay one step ahead of human ingenuity. The Laginas now face a pivotal choice: risk everything on a massive excavation to reach the money vault, or continue their methodical approach, knowing each clue could be a decade in the unraveling. What keeps the hunt alive isn't just the promise of treasure. It's the growing sense that the island is a palimpsest, its layers hiding not one story but many. A pirate's loot might lie beside Templar relics, which could sit atop some even older, stranger secret. With permits secured for deeper digs and international researchers joining the effort, the next chapter could finally tilt the scales. Or, as the pit has taught us for centuries, it might just deepen the mystery further, leaving us with new questions and the same old hunger to dig. There's something primal in the way Oak Island's money pit hooks our imagination, an almost magnetic pull that defies logic. This isn't just about treasure, it's about the intoxicating dance between certainty and mystery, the way our brains light up when faced with a puzzle that refuses to be solved. Psychologists call this the zygonic effect, the mind's tendency to obsess over incomplete tasks. The money pit is the ultimate unfinished story, a cliffhanger that stretched across centuries, teasing us with just enough clues to keep us scrambling for answers. Think about the way the pit plays with our perception of control. Modern life offers few genuine mysteries. We carry the sum of human knowledge in our pockets, yet here's a hole in the ground that resists satellites, supercomputers, and billion-dollar drilling rigs. That defiance taps into something ancient, the same spark that drove explorers to cross oceans or astronomers to map the stars. The money pit flips the script. In an age where we're used to instant answers, it forces us to sit with uncertainty, to relish the chase as much as the prize. Then there's the social alchemy of shared obsession. From Victorian-era newspaper clippings to modern Reddit threads, the pit transforms strangers into collaborators, each generation adding its own layer of theories and discoveries. The Laginas didn't just inherit a treasure hunt, they stepped into a living tradition where every shovel of dirt connects them to 18th century farmers, 19th century engineers, and 20th century dreamers. This collective effort turns the pit into more than a physical location. It's a story we're all writing together, with each failed expedition adding to its mythic weight. But perhaps the darkest allure lies in the sunk cost fallacy, the psychological trap that makes us double down on a failing venture because we've already invested so much. The pit has swallowed lives, fortunes, and decades of effort, yet each loss only deepens its grip. Why? Because admitting defeat would mean admitting that all those sacrifices, the flooded tunnels, the bankruptcies, the lives lost, were for nothing. The pit becomes a mirror, reflecting our own stubbornness back at us, proving that the most dangerous treasure isn't gold, but the human ego. What truly sets Oak Island apart, though, is its physicality. Unlike cryptograms or conspiracy theories, this mystery lives in 3 dimensions. You can touch the damp wood of its crumbling platforms, smell the salt water flooding its tunnels, hear the creak of rusted drill bits pulled from its depths. That tangibility makes the fantasy visceral. When you stand on the island, you're not just solving a riddle, you're stepping into a legend, one where you might be the hero who finally cracks the code. The pit's endurance speaks to a universal truth. We don't just want answers, we want the struggle that makes them meaningful. It's why the Laginas keep drilling, why viewers binge entire seasons of their quest, and why, centuries from now, someone will still be out there with a shovel and a wild theory. Because the moment the money pit gives up its secret is the moment the magic dies, and some treasures, it turns out, are far more valuable when left in the ground. Beneath the thrill of the hunt lies a quieter, more urgent debate. What is Oak Island's true treasure? Is it the potential hoard hidden in the money pit, or the island itself, with its fragile ecosystems and buried layers of human history? As drills bore deeper and shovels turn soil, conservationists and archaeologists raise alarms. The quest for gold might be costing us something far more irreplaceable. The dense forests of Oak Island, home to rare migratory birds and centuries-old tree roots, have been carved up by excavation sites. Wetlands crucial to coastal biodiversity now bear the scars of heavy machinery. Each new trench risks disturbing soil compositions that have held untouched for millennia, potentially erasing subtle clues about the island's pre-colonial past. Even the flooding tunnels, long seen as engineering marvels, may hold paleontological secrets, sediment layers that could reveal ancient climate data or evidence of early human activity now churned into muddy soup. Then there's the question of historical preservation. Every artifact yanked from the ground without proper documentation loses a piece of its story. A coin stripped of its surrounding soil can't reveal its age through stratigraphy. A tool pulled from a collapsed tunnel forfeits its context. Professional archaeologists shudder at the Lagina's televised digs, where the rush for dramatic reveal sometimes overshadows methodical study. It's like tearing pages from a book and then trying to read them, one researcher lamented. The island's indigenous history adds another layer. The Micmac people have inhabited Nova Scotia for thousands of years, and their ancestral connections to the land are often drowned out by treasure-hunting narratives. Could the real cultural wealth of Oak Island lie not in Templar relics, but in the untold stories of those who walked its shores long before European myths took root? Yet the counterargument pulses with its own passion. Defenders of the hunt argue that controlled excavations like those employing ground-penetrating radar and 3D mapping actually advance our understanding of the island's past. Without private funding from treasure enthusiasts, they claim, many technologies now used in mainstream archaeology wouldn't exist. And let's be honest, would Oak Island's ecology receive any attention at all if not for the global spotlight cast by its mystery? The tourism revenue from curious visitors funds local conservation efforts, protecting more of the island than would survive if left to obscurity. Even the Laginas have partnered with environmental scientists, replanting cleared areas and monitoring water quality, a nod to balance between discovery and stewardship. The ethical heart of the matter may lie in motive. Is the goal to possess treasure or to comprehend it? There's a stark difference between ransacking the earth for shiny objects and treating each shovel of dirt as an archive. Some suggest a compromise. Designate the money pit a protected heritage site where digs are led by multidisciplinary teams prioritizing knowledge over profit. Imagine if Oak Island became a living lab where cutting-edge archaeology and ecology work in tandem, proving that the greatest discoveries aren't always what glitter. Sometimes they're the stories we save along the way. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't what's down there, but what are we losing to find out? The pit's enigma has endured precisely because it resists resolution, inviting us to project our dreams onto its depths. In a world where so few genuine mysteries remain, is solving this one worth the cost, or does its power lie in the asking itself? The island won't whisper its secrets easily. But neither will it forgive us if we stop listening to everything but the siren song of gold. After centuries of digging, drilling, and deciphering, Oak Island's money pit remains one of history's most stubborn enigmas, a riddle wrapped in layers of mud, myth, and human obsession. The theories are as varied as they are compelling. Could it be a pirate's trove hidden by captains like Kidd or Blackbeard, who knew the Atlantic's currents but lacked the patience for such meticulous engineering? Perhaps the coconut fibers and flood tunnels suggest maritime expertise, yet the pit's complexity feels too deliberate for men who lived by the sword and the sail. Then there's the Templar hypothesis, weaving threads of medieval history into Nova Scotia's soil. The lead cross, the Roman sword tip, the eerie alignment of symbols, all hint at a shadowy mission to safeguard something sacred. But without a smoking gun like a Templar seal or a dated inscription, the knight's involvement stays tantalizingly speculative. The British military theory grounds the mystery in documented history, offering plausible motives, payroll stashes, looted war chests, yet struggles to explain the pit's pre-colonial clues. And what of the wilder notions, Shakespearean manuscripts, a vault for lost religious relics? These ideas ignite imaginations but crumble under the weight of practicality. The hoax argument, meanwhile, can't fully dismiss the physical evidence: those meticulously placed oak platforms, the unnatural precision of the tunnels. Nature might create sinkholes, but not cryptic stone markers or layers of imported blue clay. So where does that leave us? Maybe the truth isn't a single answer but a collision of stories. A place where pirates repurposed an older site, where Templar refugees overlapped with colonial secrets, where every generation projected its own dreams onto the same muddy hole. The pit's genius lies in its refusal to be pinned down. It's a mirror reflecting back whatever we bring to it: greed, curiosity, or the sheer thrill of the unsolved. And that's the real magic of Oak Island. It's not just about what's buried, it's about why we can't stop digging. The Lagina's high-tech quest proves that even in our age of satellites and AI, some mysteries defy resolution. The pit mocks our certainty, floods our best-laid plans, and dares us to keep trying. So here's the question that's echoed for over 200 years, now passed to you. Will you be the one to solve it? To look at the clues anew and see what everyone else has missed: the shovels waiting, the mysteries alive, and somewhere beneath Oak Island's tangled roots, the truth, whatever it is, lies patient, silent, and cold. Drop your theories in the comments below. Do you think the treasure's real, or is the hunt itself the real prize? And if you're hungry for more unsolved riddles, hit subscribe. The world's full of mysteries, and we're just getting